Oh, what are you doing?
By my dress.
Showing everybody your dress. That's a beautiful dress, isn't it? You showing everybody your lipstick? Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally filming my 41-week pregnancy update. This is about 3 weeks overdue because my daughter is about 3 weeks old. But I still wanted to bring it to you because my baby was overdue, and if you're overdue out there, then you might be interested to hear the kind of symptoms and how I was feeling in that final week. She did come exactly at 41 weeks, so exactly 1 week after her due date. She was due on the 11th of June and she came on the 18th of June, which in the UK was Father's Day. So it's probably the best possible Father's Day present for my husband ever, and probably the best one he's going to ever get for the rest of his life. So that was pretty cool. I am going to film a labour and delivery story, and believe me, you want to tune into that because my labour and delivery was super dramatic. It was a lot more like the movies than I ever thought was possible. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. It was very fast, very dramatic, and yeah, I've got lots to tell you in that video, but that's for another video. In this one I'm going to talk about what the 41st or that kind of 40 to 41 week point was like, and I can tell you I was incredibly uncomfortable. I was already so uncomfortable before then, and by that point I was just felt like a beached whale. I was huge. Doing anything was an effort. Getting out of bed, getting up from the floor. I couldn't really sit in a hard seat, so like a dining chair, I had to put a cushion on for sitting down. And I was fine on the sofa, and I was okay sitting on the floor as long as I was cross-legged so that I wasn't actually bottom on the floor. But I honestly felt like there was something between my legs the whole time. Apologies that I sound like I'm completely bunged up with the cold. It's actually hay fever. Not the one, but one of the good things about being pregnant is that my hay fever went away for the entire 9 months, and this happened the last time as well, which is really strange. It must be pregnancy hormones or something, but I had no hay fever. But about 2 weeks postpartum, pregnancy hormones must be out my system, and the hay fever returned with a vengeance, and I constantly sound like I have the cold, so please bear with me. So as I was saying, I was completely uncomfortable. I would sit cross-legged on the floor to play with my toddler because by this point I was on mat leave, and that was fine, but getting up from the floor was a bit of an effort. It was like a 3-point turn in a car. I mean, I joke about it, but actually like it took me like 5 minutes to get off the floor. It was ridiculous. My toddler was like hauling me up with her hands. And if you watched my last update, obviously baby on the shoulder, you'll be here in a minute. You'll know that I was booked in for a sweep of the membranes at 40+4, so the Thursday before she was born. She was born on a Sunday, and I was really depending on this working because the last time around I went into labour within 3 hours of having a membrane sweep. If you don't know what it is, basically they take, the midwife or the doctor take their fingers, sweep it around the cervix. It's not comfortable, it's not the most pleasant experience, but let's face it, compared to labour and delivery, the pain is nothing, but it's not comfortable. So on that day, I'd already been having a bunch of contractions, as you'll know from my last update. They went from the kind of Braxton Hicks tightening to actually quite painful early labour contractions from about 38 weeks, but definitely 41 weeks I was getting them daily, but they weren't consistent and they weren't sticking around, so they were lasting like 20 minutes or so, and they were getting more and more intense. So on that morning at 9:30 AM I went for my sweep, and she did all of the normal midwife checks, blood pressure, urine sample, so on, and she also did the feeling on your tummy and sort of your fundal height. Baby was still at measuring kind of average. The midwife did say when she was sort of feeling around my tummy that the baby was head down in the right position, but that she couldn't find the baby's head, or she couldn't feel whether it was engaged. So she said either that meant that it wasn't engaged at all, or it was really low down in my pelvis. So she said, we'll do the sweep and we'll see. And with the pressure that I'd felt, I really did feel that the baby's head was definitely engaged. So anyway, she did the sweep and she said that she could feel the head the whole way around. So the baby's head was not only fully engaged but really low, and I was already 3 centimeters dilated at that point. So at 40+4 I was 3 centimeters dilated. Last time around I got 3 centimeters dilated the same day the baby came, so I went up to the hospital in the morning that my daughter Elena was born, and they sent me home because I was only 3 centimetres dilated. And then I had her that night, so about 15 hours later. So that really excited me, the fact that I was 3 centimetres dilated, baby's head was very engaged, and I got my sweep. I was really counting on it happening straight away, but obviously she didn't come until the Sunday. So they say that with a membrane sweep, you know it's worked if you go into labour within 48 hours of the sweep, which I obviously didn't. So whether or not the sweep had anything to do with her coming, or whether she just came by herself when she wanted to, I honestly don't think we'll ever know. So after the sweep, I went home and did lots of things that are very well known to bring upon labour. Eating pineapples, spicy foods, you name it, I tried it. I was still having contractions, and I did, after I got home from the sweep, I did have a little bit of the bloody show, or the mucus plug come away, so that also was a great sign. But I had contractions again that night, and again they stopped. So another half an hour or so, getting quite intense and quite painful, and then they stopped. So really disappointing, and that continued for the next couple of days. So for those last few days of being pregnant, I was also napping quite a lot. So I think I'd napped like the odd time, maybe the week before, but not really. But that final week I was really exhausted. Like, I was so big. It's really been hot in Scotland, and yeah, it was just not comfortable time at all. So my hubby was luckily had already started his paternity leave, so he took my elder daughter, who's now turned 3 in the last week, and he took her out for a couple of hours so that I could nap. And that was kind of the first time really through my whole pregnancy, to be honest, that I'd really felt the need to nap. I've been tired throughout my whole pregnancy, don't get me wrong, but this time I was like actually exhausted. So yes, I think my body needed to prepare and put aside some energy for what was going to be a very, very dramatic labour and delivery, which I'll talk about in my next video. But yeah, I think that's the main symptoms. I was still drinking loads of water and peeing absolutely constantly, like literally every 20 minutes or less. I was in the toilet, and yeah, that was getting a little bit annoying. But yeah, it's amazing how as soon as I got given birth, that kind of stopped. So just shows you. So yes, that brings us to the end of this 41-week pregnancy update. And as promised, it's time for you to meet my baby girl. She is fast asleep right now. She's probably not going to love me for this. Oh, darling. Hey. Here she is. She's 3 weeks and 2 days old. Wow, that's amazing. And her name is Alethea Catherine, and I'll put her name on the screen so you can see how we spell it. And her name Alethea means truth, which I think is lovely. I also have a daughter who's 3 called Elena, which means shining light or shining star. She's going to be wanting a feed soon. So time to love you and leave you. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the alerts button and give us a like. And I will be back in my next video to share my dramatic movie worth labour and delivery story when this little baby girl Alethea came along to join our family. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hi Alethea.